Bleh. I DJ'd with Rick Bacchus and Holly Ramos. It was a major success, so we started doing it regularly. That lasted for 14 years. Wow. D-Generation grew out of that party and played our first gig there. It was originally at the building home of Giorgio Gamelski, who had the Crawdaddy Club in the early 60s, where he discovered the Rolling Stones. Let them fly the coop as he discovered the Yardbirds and was producing their records and many others. I mean, he's just a walking history encyclopedia of rock and roll. He was a wild Russian man with a major attitude and a major accent. The only person that turned beet red and called me a nincompoop and was serious. He went on to do tons of major wild stuff. Soft Machine, Gong, Magma, Julie Driscoll, etc. He moved to New York City in 76 and bought that building for pennies and made it a workspace for bands and artists and anyone that needed it. We were his pet band, and he was a major influence. It was a punk hardcore club when he was first there, and also an S&M club called Paddles. We all played there, Blessed, Heart Attack, etc. Sometimes we'd have to move our equipment back in late at night when it was the S&M club. After a few years, Green Door NYC, the official name, got too big. Up till then, it stayed open till everyone decided to leave around 8 a.m. usually. My God, there'd be people fucking on the floor. Look at it. Look at this picture. Great picture of Howie right here. He says there'd be people banging on the floor in the DJ booth, enough drugs to kill a small country, and almost never any problems. It started to be infiltrated by rock stars and celebs, and we started to move the club around. We did it at the Limelight. Oh, so they actually did it at the Limelight and other places till we went to this great club in the middle of St. Mark's Place. It was owned by hairdresser Paul McGregor, who had been in that building since 1965. He created the shag haircut for Jane Fonda for the movie Clute. See, he just knows all this random stuff. It's so cool, man. He would drive his psychedelic Rolls Royce out of the ground floor onto St. Mark's Place. The movie Shampoo was partially based on him. How about that? After he closed his hair shop, it was a roller rink. In the 70s, I saw the Misfits and other bands there then. Wow. Then in the 80s, 90s, it was only open once a week for a very popular club called Boy Bar, where all the now famous and infamous drag queens, RuPaul, Lady Bunny, Miss Guy, etc., did their early shows. We had many friends there, even an almost early member of the Blessed. Arthur, a.k.a. Darvon Staggard, was a bartender there. We asked if we could have a party there on Saturday night since they were never open, and then Paul said yes, and the place was huge. 3 floors. The main floor had a large stage and a full PA DJ booth, and we started doing it regularly there. And then Paul McGregor wanted out, so Jesse Malin and a couple of his friends invested, and we all opened Coney Island High. The club was a huge success and the main place, even more than CBGB's at the time. The Ramones, there's Joey and Howie right there, played their last New York show there. The Beastie Boys played there, and endless incredible things went on there. It was the last real rock and roll club in New York City. We brought the feeling of the 60s Warhol scene, Max's Kansas City, etc., to the 90s. I'm so bummed. I was just too young to experience it, man. I was like right there. Man, if I was just 5 years older, I probably, maybe a little bit older. Maybe if I was about 8 years older, I probably would have been hanging out there, I would imagine. I got to see CBGB's in the last 3 years of its existence, right? That's when I started going to CBGB's. And I just was too late, man. Sucks. Sounds amazing. Just hearing him talk about it and whatnot. That's the way the cookie crumbles. He says, it was one of the most incredible times of my life. And fuck Rudy, Hitler, Giuliani for closing Coney Island High. So Giuliani is the reason why it closed, and all the other clubs in New York City downtown. The entire time it was open, it was the height of the entire 90s in New York City, in many people's opinion. Man, and then the guy, the interviewer asked, "What do you miss about New York City?" Howie says, "People mainly. There's not much left to miss, sadly, because Ray's egg creams on Avenue A, the only thing left from my youth, although that's now closed down. Now, Ray's Egg Creams. Wait, is that Avenue A? Well, what's the place? No. I'm thinking of the place on St. Mark's, on the corner of St. Mark's, where the New York Dolls took that infamous picture. Wayne says that was a great place. I saw a few bands there. That's awesome. Wayne, who did you see there out of curiosity, if you remember? Rue Morg went to Coney Island High, and he says, I've seen the Ramones, D-Generation, Social Distortion, Guar, etc. The early 90s was lit. That's awesome, Rue. I'm glad you got to experience all of that at Coney Island High. So Rue was there. Rue can attest to all that stuff, as Wayne can. Wayne says, I think more. Here, we missed it. Wayne says, the Damned, Nashville PUSSY, the first reunited Misfits. So, Wayne, you were at the first Misfits show with Greg, with Graves and Chud. What do you remember about that Misfits show, that Misfits 95 show, if you don't mind me asking? Rue says, yeah, we called Giuliani Mussolini. He killed St. Mark's. Well, it's only gotten worse since the 90s, Rue, because now it's like atrocious. At least, it's funny, in the early 2000s, you still had like Trash and Vaudeville. St. Mark's Comics was still there. Sounds was still there. There were a couple of places that were still there. St. Mark's Hotel, Kim's Music Video was still there. And now all of that is gone too. And it really is just nothing. There's just nothing there. Like truly, truly nothing there. Such a bummer, man. Such a bummer.